Hey guys, welcome back to Magic TV. My name's Craig. It is 12 o'clock on a Sunday, which means it's time for a Q&A. Now, this is where I take all the questions that you ask over the course of the week, and I try to answer them to the best of my ability. Please remember, I tend to get these videos done very early on in the week. So it's Tuesday morning right now, and I'm filming this. So if you want to guarantee to get your questions answered, you really want to try and get it in by the Monday at the absolute latest. I never know where I'm going to be filming the Q&A. It kind of just slots into what my schedule is that week. The other thing is I don't read these questions ahead of time. I kind of basically just read them and give you the answer off the cuff. And if I think one of your questions requires more of an answer, I'll do a longer video about it at some point in the future. But yeah, that's really all you need to know, other than me saying thank you for asking questions. Thank you for watching this video. If you've watched even just one video this week on Magic TV, I really appreciate it. And from the bottom of my start again, from the bottom of my heart, thanks very much. But with that all being said, we're going to get straight into it, because looking at this, there's a few questions this week. So we're going to get straight into this week's Q&A. Okay, so the first question is from Matt Keep, who says, "Hi Craig, thanks so much for answering my parlour question. It's exactly what I needed to hear. You're more than welcome. I had no intention of performing the suit jacket escape unethically, and I've now ordered this along with the Curtain of Death. You'll love it, buddy. I think your insight into the show order is genius, and I'll be implementing aspects of that into my show. Thank you very much. I think a lot of people could submit their ideas and have you make suggestions on running orders, as your insight is fantastic. I would love to do that. If anybody has a show that they're putting together or a set they're putting together, and you've got tricks in there that you kind of think that would work, I think I'm going to do that. Let me know what the tricks are, and I'll help you put a show order together. Not a problem at all. So for this week's question, for over a year now, you've teased the Svengali project. Is this still happening? And if so, when is it happening? It's my favourite gaff deck in the world, and I'd love some new stuff and new ideas like I got when I bought your Stebbins project. Thanks for putting this content out for free. It's helped me immensely. You're more than welcome. And yes, the Svengali project is almost here. So I filmed it already. So it is filmed. It is in the bag. It got filmed with Allan. The whole thing has been filmed. Not a problem at all. I can't remember exactly. I think there were 25 routines. I think it's about 3 or 4 hours in length. It might be a bit longer. What I have to do now is I have to get the live performances, because you know that I'm really big on getting as many live performances for a project as I can. So I've been going out this week and getting live performances for a new Murphy's project that me and Lloyd are putting out together, our first joint release. That is getting done today. So today is the final day of getting live performances, and then as of next week I'll be getting the live performances for this and one other project that I'm doing that's also filmed for Alakazam. So I need to get live performances for both of those. When I've got the performances for both of those, everything will be sent over to Alakazam. I believe that Nemid is doing the tutorial and the trailer for it, and he's pretty quick. And then I imagine, it'll go out. So I don't know when, but I can imagine it maybe in the next 2 or 3 months. Okay, so the next question is from Usually Slud1, who says, "Hi Craig, who sells the haunted balloon? Thanks." Well, the haunted balloon is by a French magician, and I found him on Facebook. He has got a website with contact details, but it's not a website where you can buy stuff. But he has got a website. But if you go on Facebook, you can find him on there. If you go onto the that's what I did, because I contacted him on Facebook Messenger and said, "Hey, do you sell the haunted balloon?" And he said yes. And I said, "Awesome, I want to buy one." And he made it happen. So let's see if we can find him. Sorry. Here he is. Right, okay. Aurelian Art Magic. So it's Orelien. That's the first name. Orelien. Surname Art Magic. Artmagic. And I just messaged him, and I'm looking at it now, and said, "Hey, can I purchase the haunted balloon directly off you?" And he said, "Yes, you can purchase directly from me, no problem." And then I said, "Can I pay by PayPal?" And he said, "Yes, can pay by PayPal." And he told me how much it was, and I said, "Right, okay, no problem." And he gave me the PayPal address, and I paid him. So yeah, and he delivered it almost immediately. Like, he was ridiculously on the ball with this. Like, and he sent me pictures of it being packaged up. He sent me pictures of the tracking number. His customer service was fantastic. So if you do want a haunted balloon, that is how I would get it. Just contact him on Facebook. Tell him that you are looking for a haunted balloon, and he'll hook you up. Okay, so the next question is from Doggy Wheel, who says, "Hi, Craig. I'm about to become the owner of Cube52. Absolutely awesome. What cube would you recommend for a beginner to cube magic with Cube52? Keep up the amazing work, projects, and content. Superb." Thank you very much. I would say, if you're a beginner and you want something really simple and really accessible, I would suggest you go to get an RD regular. They're available from most dealers. Vanishing Ink definitely sell them. Pretty sure that Alakazam do as well. It's an RD regular. Now, they are created by Henry Harrius, and they're designed to work with all of Henry's gimmicked stuff, because Henry has a lot of gimmick stuff, right? A lot of gimmicks for Rubik's Cubes, and it's designed to match all of those. So I would suggest maybe going and just starting off with that. It's a good cube, and you won't have a problem with it. It'll do exactly what you need it to do. Now, if you go on to, and I've actually got their website open actually, if you go on to rubikscubemagician.co.uk, you're going to be able to see the Refractor project by Kev G and Colin Klaus. While you're there, by the way, go and download the free content, because it's amazing. But they have a recommendations tab at the top, and one of the recommendations is the best cubes for Magic. And they give you a list of the best cubes for Magic, and they give you a top 3. So they say that 3 is the Diane Zanchi Pro M. Number 2 is the QY, the Volk 3 Elite M, or something like that. And number 1 is the Refractor Cube. I love the Refractor Cube. It's a magnetic cube. I think that the magnetic cubes are the best. And they say so as well. We definitely think magnetic cubes are the way forward, as they just make your moves smoother and more accurate. The Refractor Cube is my favourite cube to use. So if you're looking for a really good cube, the Refractor Cube, which is about £25, is the one to go for. But when you're first getting into it and you're just wanting to practice, I would suggest an RD regular. Okay, so the next question is from GSNHU. Jansu, maybe? I don't know. Hi, Craig. I saw the video performance of Bricked, which Ryan posted on his Instagram. I'm wondering if you have any information on when it will be released. Also, I'd like to know your thoughts on this trick. Well, if you go back and you look at a video I did after Blackpool, I did the best tricks at Blackpool 2024, and I put Bricked at number 1. I think Bricked is absolutely amazing. Now, I'm fortunate to be friends with Drew Perry. And Drew showed me this very early on in the development, and I've been using it for a long time. So I didn't just pick it up at Blackpool and start using it at Blackpool. In fact, I was asked by Alakazam and Drew to be on the tutorial for Bricked. So when you see the tutorial for Bricked, we share a ton of applications, and a lot of the routines that we shared are ideas of mine. And I absolutely love it. I think that OmniDeck is great. It's used by so many pros, and there's nothing wrong with OmniDeck. But it's kind of turning it into a see-through block, which doesn't make much sense. It's impactful, but it's kind of like, hey, I'm going to turn this clear. Why? Because I can. Whilst with this, it makes more sense, because you've got this wonderful deck of Lego cards, and then the Lego cards turn into actual Lego in the hands of the spectator. It kind of has more of a reason for happening. And on the project, there's tons of ideas and tons of routines and tons of ways of bringing this in. But because it looks exactly the same as the deck of cards that's included with it, it doesn't even, like, it's so clever. Like, you can literally put it into a spectator's hands, and they're not even going to realise until you point it out to them. It also comes with a bunch of gaffed cards as well, so you can do a ton of material with these extra gaffed cards that we go through as well. And I was lucky enough to be asked to do the live performances for this as well. So I went out for 3 days straight into the mean streets of Birmingham and Manchester. And I was getting tons of live performances. And when you see the trailer, you'll see a lot of those live performances. And then obviously they'll be included on the project as well. But it was, what was really cool is the performances, you will see how well people react to this. Like, I had people running away, screaming and running away. I had people like absolutely freaking out, which you don't get as much in the UK as you do in America. It's fairly easy to get people to freak out in the States. You know, they're just more reactive to stuff. In the UK, they're more reserved. But this trick, oh, it makes them lose their mind and then some. So yeah, I mean, it's killer. It's killer. It's absolutely killer. I would highly recommend it. Highly, highly, highly recommend it. If you want a scoop as to when it's going to be released, I was speaking to Peter Nardi yesterday about something else, and he says it's very close to being released, and he thinks it probably could be in the next 6 weeks. So there's that. So it's going to be coming out soon, and I think it stands a very good chance of being Trick of the Year. And Drew Perry, who created Bricked, oh my God, some of the stuff he's got coming up in the future is amazing. Drew is an absolute genius. Okay, so the next question is Paul Dawson, who says, "Hi Craig, love the channel." Thank you, Paul. "I believe you said that before that you don't drive. I also don't drive, but people always say to me, if I want to be successful, I'll have to learn to drive. I would like to know your thoughts on this. If it's possible to have a successful career not being able to drive, and how you cope with not driving. Thanks." Yeah, I just don't drive. Never have at all. And it's never really been an issue for me, ever. I've never had a problem with it. In the early days, before I had kids, so in the early days, right, before I had kids, and before I was doing illusion shows or anything like that, I was doing kids gigs and I was doing close-up. And my wife, Sarah, worked full-time as a teacher. She was a deputy head in a school. So she was working Monday to Friday, getting back quite late because she's a deputy head, then prepping for school work and everything and doing whatever she needed to do, and then going to bed and going and doing the same thing. As a magician, I was kind of really busy over the weekends because I always had tons of gigs. So in the early days before we had kids, Sarah used to drive me around everywhere, and we'd like make a day of it. So if I had 2 gigs, if I had an 11 till 1 and then an evening gig, I'd go and do the 11 till 1, and she'd go somewhere shopping and grab a coffee. Then she'd come and pick me up and we'd do something together. We'd go somewhere together. And then in the evening, she'd drop me off at my evening gig. Normally go and grab a drink or something. Or a lot of the time, what she'd do is she would find somewhere to go and sit up and mark her stuff. So she'd get that out of the way. And then we'd come back and watch a film or something. So it wasn't really an issue before we had kids. Having kids coincided with starting to do an illusion show. And when the illusion show was put together, I just made sure that anybody who I was doing the illusion show with could drive. Because obviously you need to have a van. So the assistant in the show drove, or the other person I was with drove. So if we were doing stage shows or illusion shows, I was always just a passenger in the van, which totally wasn't an issue. And that continues to this day. Like, I had 3 illusion shows last week. And Kat or Matt drove the van, and I just sat there as a passenger. Absolutely not a problem. In terms of close-up jobs, I just love trains. It's kind of a bit sad, but I actually love trains. I'm so busy, I find that trains are the one chance where I can just sit there and deal with kind of admin stuff that I need to deal with. I know the office deal with a lot of my admin, but it's a great time for me to just put my headphones in, open up a laptop, and just say, right, okay, I need to deal with this, I need to deal with this, I need to deal with this. And, you know, I always, you know, if it's a close-up job, I always just catch a train there. If I'm on a multi-man close-up job, I'll get a lift with somebody. Same with the cabaret show. If I'm doing a cabaret show, more often than not, my rider will say that there needs to be a PA system and a tech there that can deal with that. So I can take a full cabaret show with just one case and a stand. And I'll normally take my head mic as well. But even if I haven't got the luxury of having a PA system there, I'll bring my own little S1 Bose, which is big enough for pretty much most venues. So it's not an issue. And you know, I still do kids gigs. Obviously, you take a fair bit of equipment for kids gigs, but a lot of the time, if I'm doing a kids gig, I'll jump in the car with Sarah, and Sarah and the kids will go and do something while I go and do a kids gig. Or if it's local, I'll just jump in a taxi. And the cost of whatever it is that I'm paying in order to get to the venue is covered with the quote that's gone out to the client. So in all honesty, no, I've never found it an issue that I don't drive. You know, people that say, if you want to be successful, you have to learn to drive. I don't think that's true at all. I think that if you're creative, you can come up with solutions to it. Now, slightly hypocritically, and I am aware it is hypocritical, I run a couple of entertainment agencies, Slightly Unusual and Non-Stop Kids, and when people apply to join those, we make it a prerequisite that they have to drive. And the reason for that is we had it before where we've brought people in and they haven't drove and they've said, oh, I've got my partner that will drive and they will drive me anywhere and it's totally not an issue. And whenever we've had an issue, it's always been with the people that don't drive and they're like, oh, my partner can't take me today. And it's like literally a last minute thing that we're needing to sort out because of them not having their own car. So we've kind of said as an entertainment agency, you have to be able to drive because we've been bitten more than once. But from my point of view, I've never had a problem not being able to drive because I can literally get anywhere at all, either by train or public transport or, normally when I'm going to a venue, I'll just, I'll catch a train and I'll catch an Uber or a taxi the rest of the way. So totally not an issue. So yeah, I don't think it really impacts stuff at all. It's probably easier if you can drive. I wouldn't know, I've never driven. It's probably easier if you can drive, but don't let it be a barrier to any success that you want to achieve. Okay, so the next question is from Golden Knights Fan 84. Hey, who says, hi Craig, I have a question regarding the quantum deck. After watching the Magic Live with Katie, you did a routine with 2 decks. My question has nothing to do with the trick, but with the decks. Are we locked into using bicycle rider decks whilst using the quantum deck in order for it to work, or does the style and type of the deck not matter with one or the other? Cheers, Craig, loving the channel. You can get that's the beautiful thing with the quantum deck. You can use any back design that you want to, any face design that you want to. It makes no difference as long as it's the same size as a bicycle double blank card, which, let's be honest, 99% of decks are. You can use any back design at all, any back design, any face design. It absolutely makes no difference at all. So yeah, I mean, quantum deck is amazing. I love the quantum deck. I'm so proud of the quantum deck, and it's just one of those effects that every single time I perform it for magicians, they just immediately kind of go, oh, I need that. And these are magicians that sometimes have seen it and or they haven't seen it, but they've heard about it and they've been put off it because of something maybe a guy like Luke Dancy would say. But when you actually see it performed in the real world, and you actually see it gigged in front of a real audience, you realise just how powerful this is and how much it's capable of being able to do. So yeah, I hope that answers the question, but you can literally use any cards, any back design that you want. Okay, so the next question is from Archie Cox Magic, who says, hi Craig, thanks for answering my question about mind blocks. I'll definitely be picking it up. Good job, my man. My style is making magic meaningful and inspirational. So I could present this as Lego taking adults back to their childhood. Absolutely. But question: where is the best place to buy close-up mats from? I remember there being a stand at Blackpool, but I can't remember what it was called. Okay, so the absolute best pads that you can buy are by Sven & Bosch. Sven & Bosch have the best pads, and that's all the pads that we use. Every pad that we use is a Sven & Bosch. Riley uses a Sven & Bosch. They're amazing pads. They are not cheap, I'll tell you that. Now, you can buy them custom designed from Sven, and he will tell you, you can pick the color, you can pick the material, you can pick the backing material, you can go through all of that process. He'll print logos on there. It's beautiful, absolutely beautiful. But they're not cheap. Now, they have made a bunch of generic pads for Murphy's Magic. So you can get Sven & Bosch pads directly from your favorite magic dealer because you can get them directly from Murphy's Magic. But if you want a bespoke one with your logo, you want to go directly to Sven. The other place that does really good close-up pads, and again, it's bespoke, and you can pick the back design and the front design and logos and so on and so forth, is Prop Dog. And Prop Dog's close-up pads are actually more reasonably priced, but the quality, although very good, is not quite where it is with Sven & Bosch. So you're paying a bit more, but you're getting a more quality pad that's kind of more recognized as being the industry-leading pad, if that makes sense. But honestly, those are the two that I would suggest going to, either Prop Dog or Sven & Bosch. Okay, Archie Cox has got another question, and he says, on Christmas cards, you mentioned a version of Monsters with regular films. Is that coming soon, and do you know when? It is coming at some point. I actually sent to Peter Nardi last week the list of all of the films. I took a while to decide what films I wanted in there, because I wanted it to be a collection of really iconic films and maybe films that are slightly lesser known. And they had to work with regards to back design, so I had to go back and forth on it a little bit. But I've sent him everything that he needs now, including the binary coding system. So I know that his team are working on a prototype. When the prototype is done, I've already created the additional routines for it, because I was using Christmas cards to come up with the additional routines. Because if you don't know, when Monsters came out, it came with about 10 routines. And then when Christmas cards came out, it came out with the 10 routines that Monsters came out with, and another 10 routines. I wanted to give people more value every single time. So when this new one comes out, which I think will be the final part of the trilogy, it'll be another 10 routines on top of the 20 routines that were taught in Christmas cards and Monsters. So you're going to have 30 routines on the project. So those are already created. So all I need is my prototype. I'm going up to Alakazam in April to film, although we might be filming some stuff in the Midlands before that. But I could say it's definitely coming soon. I would say probably by the summer at the latest. Obviously, Alakazam have got a lot of releases, so it can't just be the Craig Petty show. But I imagine it'll be coming sooner rather than later. Okay, so the next question is from Adrian Suta, who says, "Hi Craig, great Q&A, and thanks for the info on your upcoming credit card tricks. Are you aware of any magic tricks with ungimmicked real credit cards?" So Nate Cranzo put a credit card vanish out many, many years ago. I'm pretty sure it was on Outside the Box, I think, way back. But then I think he put it as a download on Theory 11 maybe, or Illusionist or something like that. And it's a great vanish of a credit card, where literally you show a credit card, you borrow a credit card, you do this, and the credit card vanishes. And it looks incredible, it really does. Both hands are empty. So you can look at that. That's available as a download somewhere. Just search credit card vanish Nate Cranzo. It'll come up. As well as that, Mark Leverage has a bunch of stuff with real credit cards. My favorite Mark Leverage trick, and a lot of those you can get now as ebooks. So if you go on to, a lot of it involved envelopes. So if you get his ebook, Forever Flapping and I'm Still Flapping, which is all of his work on envelope magic and how to gimmick up envelopes and so on and so forth. A lot of it is in there. But my favourite one is Never Trust a Magician. And the idea is that you take a credit card, you put it into an envelope, you borrow a credit card, you put it into an envelope, you have them sign the front and the back of it, and you get it put down on the table. And they hold it in between their hands or whatever. And then what happens is eventually they open up the envelope, and when they're looking at it, it's now got a credit card in there that says Never Trust a Magician, and their credit card has vanished, and you can produce it wherever you want to. That was really cool. So Mark Leverage has got a bunch of stuff. Jay Sankey had a really nice routine. It's definitely on the definitive Sankey collection, but it was in one of his DVDs. I want to say Kaleidoscope, but I might be wrong. And it was a really cool torn and restored credit card. So what actually happened is you had a little envelope that literally just fit the size of a credit card. You put the credit card in there, and you take a pair of scissors and you just cut it. And then when you cut it, you separate the envelope, and you see credit card in both sides. You know, you see that you've cut it in two, and then you put it back together and you do this. And then now the credit card is restored and you can give it to them. So that was really cool as well. I really like that. And Jay has a few things with borrowed credit cards. But all of those are really good. But that torn and restored credit card is one that really stood out for me. Simon Lipkin has a version of like a bank night style routine using the Orphic wallet. I don't think he's published it anywhere, but he taught it on the interview I did with him on Magic TV. So if you go onto Magic TV and you search up the Simon Lipkin interview, he actually talks about and teaches that routine on there. And it uses an Orphic wallet. And what it is he has some blank, he just has some, yeah, that's right. So he has some envelopes, and he has some blank cards, some blank credit cards, which you can get from Amazon really cheap. and he gets them to take out their credit card, and let's say he's got 5 envelopes. 4 of the envelopes you put in blank cards, blank credit cards, and 1 of them goes in their credit card. And then they mix them up, and they pick envelopes one at a time, and you cut them, and you end up cutting through all of the blank ones, and the one that's left is the one with their credit card in. Very, very nice routine. I have to be honest with you, very, very strong, and the thinking behind it is exceptional. So you can learn that for free. I've actually got a version of that as well with a completely different method that's unpublished. But if you want to learn Simon's, he taught it on his download. On his interview with Magic TV. That's off the top of my head. So off the top of my head, those are all of the credit card tricks that I can think of. But there's going to be more, and maybe I'll do a video on this. The 10 best tricks using regular credit cards that you've never seen before. If you want to see that, let me know. But off the top of my head, those are the ones that spring to mind instantly. Okay, so the next question is from Intelligentsia 101, who says, "Hey Greg, what's the name of the jumping coin to glass trick?" The answer is I can't remember. I really can't remember. It's coming out by Vanishing Ink soon, like I said, and it is really cool. I remember being at Magic Live and sitting in a cafe, and Magic Belay came running over to me and said he's never been more fooled, and he's just seen the best coin to glass in the world, and it's on the Vanishing Ink stand, and he was describing it, and he was so excited about it, because you know Magic loves magic. He was so excited about it. I'm like, oh my God, this sounds great. This is amazing. And I went over to look at it, and I was like, no, this is really seriously cool. It will be released by Vanishing Ink soon, but it's very, very good. In a way, it's not needed because there's so many different ways of doing coin to glass, but this is a very cool, hands-off way of doing coins to glass, and it's really good. I can't remember the name of it, but I assume that when it is available, Vanishing Ink are just going to be pushing this thing to the moon. They're going to be shouting about it from the rooftops. Okay, so the next question is from Yuri, who says, "Thanks so much for answering my question last episode. No problem. I have a question that's been bothering me for quite some time. I don't know if it's just me who's troubled with this, since I don't hear a lot of people talking about it, but I'm from Europe and I'd love to do magic with European bills and coins. But I've always noticed how American and British coins are usually bigger and supposedly easier to handle than European coins. Do you have any tips or tricks for handling smaller coins like that?" Well, really, it just comes down to practice. That's the best thing I can say to you. It just comes down to practice. The more you practice something, the better you're going to be at it. Like, it's kind of weird. I use half dollars and dollars, right? So those are the coins that I use. When I use silver dollars, I'll be using them for a while. And then if I switch back to something for half dollars, the half dollars feel really tiny in my hands. And then once I've used the half dollars for a while, when I go back to a silver dollar, it feels massive in my hands. So I think your hands and your muscle memory get used to the coins that you're using. Now, I've got a couple of different routines that use 10p coins and 5p coins, and you know, they're a lot smaller, and I find them a little bit harder to classic palm. The smaller the coin, the harder it is to classic palm. It's not impossible, it's just a little bit more tough. So a lot of the time, if I'm using smaller coins, I'm going to be using finger palm, maybe thumb palm, something like that. I'm going to structure the routine where I can stay away from classic palm. But in terms of any tips on handling smaller coins, outside of avoiding classic palm, look at the advantages, look at the pros and the cons. Well, the con is it's harder to classic palm, so we avoid classic palm. But a pro is they're really small. So a 5p, for example, you could literally just have it there with one finger. You could do the most amazing, you could do a one finger Ramsey subtlety nowhere palm style thing, and your hands would look completely empty. So, you know, there are advantages of using smaller coins as well. But realistically, like I said before, it's just practice. You want your hands to get used to smaller coins. Practice all of your moves, all of your sleights, all of the different sequences, everything that you're doing. Practice it with smaller coins, because once you've got it down with smaller coins, your hands will kind of become used to it. Okay, so the next question is from Adrian Triton, who says, "Would you be able to get Myles Thornton on a Talk Magic, please? Would love to see him interviewed by you. Thank you." Yeah, I'd love to get Myles on here. If you're watching, Myles, give me a call, drop me a message, let me know, let's set it up. I'd love to do a Talk Magic with you. Okay, the next question is from Twat Monroe, who says, "Mystery boxes are shit. You're paying through the nose for junk you don't want and you'll never use that the retailer would have to dump because it was unsellable. Okay, and that's your opinion, and that's absolutely fine. You're entitled to your opinion. I actually like mystery boxes. There's a lot of mystery boxes. For years and years and years, I used the Kennedy mystery box. I then went from the Kennedy mystery box to a different type of box, I think that mystery boxes are great. I think that you don't need them, but you don't need anything. There's nothing in Magic that you actually need. To say that you're paying through the nose for junk, I disagree with that. You say you're paying through the nose for junk you don't want and you'll never use that the retailer will have to dump because it was unsellable. Well, look at Kennedy's mystery box, for example. It's one of the best-selling tricks of all time. I'm pretty sure that the retailers haven't dumped that because it's unsellable. And I know that there's lots of other mystery boxes that have sold absolute bucket loads. Paragon box, all of the clear see-through boxes. Look, the bottom line is, right, okay, here's how this industry works. There's certain types of tricks that you just know as a Magic creator or a Magic producer they're going to sell because it's going to be intriguing to the end user. And they're going to go, oh, that's amazing. Any card at any numbers. Self-levitations. Wallets. Peak devices, all of these types of things, if you can bring out a new version of that really takes things to the next level and it really does deliver on what you're promising, then your product will probably stand more of a chance of being successful. Mystery boxes are part of that. That's why if mystery boxes were unsellable and it was impossible to sell them and the retailer would have to dump it because it was unsellable, well, then Murphy's would never buy mystery boxes in because mystery boxes and variations of mystery boxes come out all the time. Now, Murphy's are a wholesaler. Their job is to buy tricks that they think will sell to retailers. Their customers are retailers, and then the retailers' customers are the end user, people like you, people like me. So if all of the retailers and the people that run the magic shops and the online magic shops, if they have to dump all of their mystery box stock because it's unsellable, well, then what's going to happen is they're never going to buy in any more mystery boxes. It's going to get to a point where they kind of look at the latest list on Murphy's and they go, well, there's another mystery box. The last 5 mystery boxes we've had to sell, we've had to dump because it's unsellable. We're not going to buy that one. And what will happen is the sales figures will go down at Murphy's. Less of these retailers will buy their stock. So what will happen is when a new producer goes to Murphy's and says, hey, I've got this mystery box, it's amazing, Murphy's will go, nope, don't want it. Because they're a business. They're in business to make money. Make no bones about it. Murphy's look at all of the sales figures and everything. And if something just isn't selling, or a creator or a producer or a type of magic isn't selling, like I heard somewhere, not directly from Murphy's, but a few people that are friends within the industry said to me recently that, Murphy's are trying to have less to do with celebrity reveals because there were so many celebrity reveals that came out over a period of time that now they think the market's saturated. So there's less people, you're going to see less celebrity reveals come out. And for a while you saw loads of them, right? Well, it's the same with mystery boxes. If they weren't selling, Murphy's wouldn't buy them in, because magic shops aren't going to buy them off Murphy's. But that's not happening. There's mystery boxes coming out all the time. They do sell. Trust me, magic shops aren't dumping their stock because they're unsellable. So you're entitled to your opinion, man. Absolutely, 100%. I think you're wrong in that point. But if you don't like a mystery box, the cool thing is you don't have to buy it. Do something else. Okay, so the next question is from Jay Plays, who says, hi, Craig. I've got a few questions this week. We'll take them one at a time, Jay, if that's okay. So question number 1, I hear people say, that magicians, mentalists should make their routines meaningful. I'm curious, what does meaningful mean? Should we aim to have a deeper story to tell in every trick we do? Is there still room for tricks that are just in a show because they're visual, but there's no deeper underlying meaning, stroke message, or connecting theme to the rest of the show? It's totally up to you, man. It's completely and totally up to you. Look, when I'm doing a stage show, when I'm doing an illusion show, There's not that much in the illusion show that's designed to be meaningful. There are moments in there. We've got this lovely presentation of the for the master prediction system. We've got the lovely presentation for the Blake Voigt vanishing stool illusion. We've got a lovely presentation for a few different things. But when we're doing the illusions, it's eye candy. Hey, I got a box. I got a girl. Girl gets in the box. She's going to get chopped into bits. She's going to disappear, and she's going to come back. And people pay for that, you know. So I did an illusion show with Kat and Matt last Saturday, and it was in a theatre in Liverpool, and it was a public ticketed event, and I think there were about 130 people in the audience, and something like that. Really nice crowd, and we went to do an hour show, an hour straight through. We ended up doing about an hour and 5 minutes. And it was a very illusion-heavy show. We started with the crystal casket. We also had the plunger in there. We had the mangler in there. We had the split press in there, the vanishing stools, the sub-trunk. There was a load of stuff in there, a lot of big illusions in there, right? But there was also a smaller front of cloth material as well. Afterwards, I was speaking to the client who came over, and he was like, oh, we want to book you for next year. I was like, yeah, cool, no problem. And they were like, look, we have magicians here quite regularly for ticketed events, and you're the best. Now, you hear that all the time. You know, you're always going to hear that, oh, you're the best magician I've ever seen. But this was somebody who booked us, and I was like, oh, that's really nice of you to say. Why were we the best, if you don't mind me asking, just so we know what we're doing right? And he said, it's not like anybody else was bad, but what you did, there was more spectacle to it. There was more grandeur. It was like, it felt like an event, like they were seeing something. And the only reason for that is because we were doing like illusions and stuff like that. You know, we were doing big illusions. Now, is it possible to make illusions meaningful? Absolutely. But you know, we didn't. It was a fantastic show. So you don't always have to have something meaningful. One of my favorite magicians is Mark Bennett. And Mark, I've seen his show so many times. And Mark's show, I wouldn't describe as meaningful, but I would describe as fucking hilarious. You know, people leave 5-star reviews for him all the time. People laugh their ass off at his show for all the right reasons. But nobody's coming away from that show having a deep, meaningful connection with Mark. They've come away having a great time. And sometimes entertainment's about that. It's having a great time. Now, can we create more meaningful routines? Yeah, absolutely. That was the whole purpose of Evoke. And the right time, right place, that works. But like, if I'm booked to do a corporate event, and I've got to do a 20-minute stand-up spot at a corporate event after they've had death and PowerPoint all day, and they've been drinking all through dinner, and I've got to do a half-an-hour spot, and they're feeling a bit tipsy. If I went out there and I said, right, okay, we're going to get in touch with our emotions, for me, that wouldn't work. That's not what they want. They want me to stand up on stage, take the piss out of a few people, bring a few people on stage, make them laugh, do some magic, leave, right? So there's a time and a place. And if you want to make your magic meaningful, realistically, that's great. But if you want to do that, you need to find the places and the clients that want that. Because what you don't want to do is structure a whole meaningful presentation and you know, sell it to a comedy club, for example. That probably won't work. Like, I watched Matt Cluley perform at the House of Secrets, and Matt did an amazing job. And that final routine with the candle and all of that, that was a very meaningful presentation. And Matt could do that in many different places and would absolutely kill with it, because it is very meaningful. But then there's other places that he wouldn't make it work with, and he knows that, right? So yeah. There is the wonderful thing about this industry is there's space for everything. There's space for really entertaining performances, really funny performances, really over-the-top performances. There's space for everything, absolutely everything. If you want to make your magic meaningful, that's fine, but only if that's the way you want to go. You know, realistically, at the end of the day, you have to be true to yourself. And if you're the sort of performer that wants to be the next Eugene Berger and have a message behind every routine, that's fine. But just because people say to you, your magic needs to be meaningful, it doesn't always have to be meaningful. Sometimes you can just go and do a show and do some really cool shit because you're going to love it and your audience is going to love it. Okay, so the next question, again, is from Jay Plays, who said, I watched your live review of the Timesmith app and the SB watch, which is very positive. I don't often see you wearing a watch. I wanted to ask if you still use the SB watch and Timesmith app in your live performances. If so, do you use it for stage or close-up? or only one of those, and what routines do you do with it? Don't really use it anymore, to be honest, for the reason that you just said. I don't really often wear a watch. I'm not a watch wearing guy. I'm not a ring wearing guy. I don't wear jewelry or watches or anything like that. I'm married and I don't have a wedding ring. Because I do a lot of coin magic and the ring gets in the way of doing a lot of the sleights that I use. So I don't wear a wedding ring. I don't wear watches. And for a while I did wear a watch, and I was using an SB watch, and it allowed me to do some really cool stuff. But I don't miss it. It's a great prop. And I stand by the review, and anybody who buys it, if you wear a watch and you replace it with that, that's great. Ryland uses a version of that, and he wears a watch and he does it all the time and it kills. But in terms of me, I tend not to wear watches, so it doesn't really kind of fit with what I do anymore. So yeah, if I want to do something with a watch, normally I'm going to borrow a watch off a spectator. Okay, so one final question from Jay Plays, who says, do you still use a pocket card index for any of your performances? I'm currently practicing with mine, and I'd love to see a video of the most impactful tricks that you use an index for, if that's something you have the time or you're able to put together. Yeah, absolutely. I think maybe 10 tricks with an index that you've never seen before. That'd be a really cool thing to do, or 5 tricks with an index, I don't know. Yeah, 100%, absolutely. Tickety boop. I use Dex because I didn't really use an index that much before Dex. I learned how to use Dex, and I use Dex now a lot. I really enjoy using it. It's not something that I do at every gig because I have it in my right hand pocket, and that's prime real estate for me because I do a lot of coin magic and I do a lot of loading of various different items. A lot of that's stored in my right hand pocket. If I've got an index in my right hand pocket, it means I can't use Keymaster. It means there's certain coin routines that I can't use. So I don't use it all of the time. It's not something that I do every gig, but it is something that I do, and I'm glad that I actually learned how to do it. Okay, so the next question is from Top Trump City, who says, hi Craig, any chance we could get either a review from yourself or Matt on Rex Ignis 2.0? Saw Matt's Bear Pit performance and thought it was a fantastic presentation of the effect. Thanks. Yes, I've actually asked, you're not the first person to ask this, and I've actually asked Matt to do a review of it with me. So we're going to be doing that in the next week. I could probably see this coming up next week. It depends on how much Michael's got to edit, but and by the time you see this video, it might have already been shot because I know that Matt's around for a few days. So yeah, possibly is the answer. We're definitely going to review it. It's just when we get around to doing it. I think next week stands a very good chance. But yes, you're not the first person to say that. Okay, so the drunk magic ukulele player is back, and he says, "Hi Craig, long time no speak. The problem was Claire decided to buy a pet Moomin." Let me just say this, it's been a nightmare ever since we got it. It's got to a point where I've had enough of the bloody thing, so I've decided to eat it. I'm limited on my culinary skills, so I was wondering if you could advise me on how to cook Moomin meat. I was thinking sandwiches or chips, but any ideas are good. I would suggest barbecue, and just really bake it, like really make it like well done. You know, you want to get that well done, because I've heard that Moomin meat can really kind of kick back at you and make you violently ill if it's not cooked or overcooked. So I would suggest throw that thing on a barbecue, crank that barbecue up, make it so that it's absolutely crispy, well done, and then go for it. And it's got a bit of an aftertaste. So what I'd do is I'd suggest a really strong dip to use with it as well. Barbecue sauce, sweet chili would probably go with it. Okay, so now we have a million questions by Jonah Berg. We're going to quick fire through these. So first question. By Jonah Berg. What is the best coin prediction effect you know? My favourite is Hawaiian Punch by Penguin Magic and John Bannon, which is based on the classic routine where you get them to take a bunch of coins and shake them and drop them down and they're eliminating them, but there's also a kicker with a postcard and there's a whole bunch of stuff going on. It's really good, and I think it went under people's radar. A lot of people didn't see it, but Hawaiian Punch by John Bannon, I would say, is the best coin prediction I've seen. Okay, next Jonah Berg question. What are your top 3 favourite John Bannon books? Smoke and Mirrors, Impossibilia, Hush Hush Bang Bang. Is it Hush Hush Bang Bang? Yeah. I love all of them, but those are the 3 that I think are my favourites. The 2 classic ones and Hush Hush Bang Bang. Next question by Jonah Berg. Do you perform David Williamson's Torn and Restored Transpo? Yes, I do. It's not something I perform all the time, but I've performed it on and off for probably about 20 years now. It's a fantastic trick. I don't see many people doing it. The negative is, obviously, you need some duplicate cards in order to be able to do it. But I think it's such a strong way of doing the torn and restored card. If you guys don't know what it is absolutely incredible, the torn and restored Transpo. And I love the fact at the end, you know, you iron the creases out and everything. It's just so well structured together. So yes, I do it. If you want me to do a performance on Magic TV, if you want me to do a Magic Live for it, just let me know in the comments down below and I'll be more than happy to do that for you. So the next question again from Jonah Berg. Do you think it's still important to get card Magic classics like the Stars of Magic or the Royal Road or Expert Card Technique, or are they outdated? No, I don't think they're outdated. Like I've said in the past, like one of my favorite things is going looking at old books and old magazines, and there's so much gold in there really is. But to answer your question, no, they're not outdated, but it just depends on how well you deal with material that was written many years ago. I've spoken to people and they say, hey, you know what, I've tried to get into the Royal Road to Card Magic, but the way it's written, I just can't follow it. Don't forget, Magic is a hobby and it's meant to be fun. And if you're constantly frustrated because you can't learn something because the book isn't conducive to your learning experience, then you're going to ultimately just get frustrated and maybe even quit Magic. So the way to make sure that that doesn't happen is that you at least start with a learning medium that's accessible to you. Now, if that means new books, then so be it. If that means books that have been written, you know, in the last few years that are easier to digest and read, great. If it means streaming or downloads or DVDs or whatever, you know, go with that. I like reading the old books, and I know a lot of people that do, but don't force yourself to do anything. If you're trying to read them because you think it's the right thing to do, but you're not getting a very good experience out of it, then just stop. Next question again from Jonah Berg is, what's your thoughts on the definitive Sankey that was just reprinted? I did a review on these years ago. I think they're amazing. They're 3 of the best books that Vanishing Ink have ever done. And the material in there is just exceptional. You could just buy those 3 books and never buy anything else again and have multiple successful careers in Magic. Sankey is an absolute genius, and I love that these books are accessible, that just really showcase some of the stuff that Jay has done over the years. Okay, the final question from Jonah Berg is, can you review the new books from Allan, Ackerman and Vanishing Ink at all? And can you interview Allan on your channel? I'd love to interview Allan on my channel. I reached out to him a while ago and never got anything back, so maybe I'll try again. In terms of the new books, I'm currently reading like 5 or 6 new books at the moment. I have the Allan Ackerman books, they're very good, but I can't do a review of them until I've read the books thoroughly. Book reviews take a lot longer, and anybody who's an online reviewer and starts reviewing Magic books like a week after they've come out, they're not giving it the attention it deserves. You know, they're basically paying it lip service. So yes, I'm currently reading about 5 different books at the moment, but one of them is the Allan Ackerman books, and when I've got to the point that I feel I've understood enough of it to be able to do a review will be forthcoming. Okay, so the next question is from Divisar Magician, who says, do you do Grandfather's Top by Adam Wilbur or Tarantula 2? Tarantula I do not do. It's just not something that's ever appealed to me. Grandfather's Top, yes, I do that, and it is very good. If you haven't seen Grandfather's Top, it's very cool and well worth checking out. Okay, so the final question today is from Iron Guy Fly, who says, you haven't answered the question about stands. I don't know what that question is. I've gone through the last few videos and I've looked for questions about stands and I can't see it. I've had Michael look for questions about stands and I can't see it. So if I miss a question, I'm sorry. The best thing to do is to ask it again. So just saying you haven't asked a question about stands doesn't really help, because we get so many comments on this channel, it's hard to actually find a specific question that you're talking about. So put the question down below, and I promise I'll get to it next week. So there you go, guys. That's another Q&A in the bag. Thank you once again for joining me right here on Magic TV. Now, don't forget, there's going to be a review show special coming up tonight at 9 o'clock, so make sure you check that out. There's going to be a Magic Live at 6 o'clock. We had an incredible interview go up yesterday. If you haven't seen that, go check that out. But thank you so much for joining me this week on this week's Q&A. Thank you for joining me this week on Magic TV. You want to see more videos like this, like the video, subscribe to the channel, leave a comment down below. I'm going to be back very, very soon with another video. And if you haven't already done so, please go ahead and join the Netrix. It's www.thenetrix.com. www.thenetrix.com. Go and check it out. See what all the fuss is about. I'll see you again soon. Thanks for watching. My name's Craig from Magic TV.